Welcome to Trading Lounge and the Commodity Futures Report, and starting with the TLTs here. So it's quite clear that we have wave 1, 2 and 3, 4 and down for wave 5. We haven't made a new low below wave 3 yet. Wave 4s can get complicated, so we could put wave 4 over here and have wave 5 down, but we still expecting further downside here, so we can expect further upside on the yields as well, and the 10-year bunds are the same as well. This is just a daily chart here. We can see that they're really sort of not wanting to go down any further, and we could put that in there as a low on the bunds as well here for this, but and I can count 5 waves down to that point, but I'll just sit here and wait for a cleaner low at this point. And of course we've got the 10-year auctions and the 4-year bill auctions today as well, but probably the CPI figures will be more important to the Feds on the Thursday. So on the flip side, we've been looking at the 5-year yields for the US markets as well as the 10 years lately, and the reason for that is because we've got a very nice clean low here, which really establishes wave 1 and 2 here, and then we've got wave 3, 4 here. So once again, depending on how those bonds get sold off, we could look at this as 1 and 2 to the upside here, 3, 4, 5, and take it up a bit further, which would be realistic when you look at the length of wave 1 and wave 3 here. So to put wave 5 here, if I can just get a grip on that, putting wave 5 in here, probably not the right thing to do at this particular point in time. But as I mentioned, the scary thing here is that, you know, if you've been, I understand Elliott a little bit, if you get 5 waves in the opposite direction of the trend, which is down here, the opposite direction is here, and we're getting 5 waves here, then this 5 waves here is just going to be well, I'm just taking it lightly here as wave A, and then we'll have a wave B that pulls back. We're on log scale here, a wave B to come back, and then another 5 waves up, so we'll call that an ABC. So we'll probably be approaching the 1982 tops at some point, but we've got a long way to go. So yeah, above the 5%, and then back again testing support down here. Could drop lower, but we'll see how that goes. So in the meantime, we're looking at the markets moving up. So on the daily chart for the 10-year yields here, we've got the same thing happening here. Even though the low is messy here, the 5 years yields really sort that out quite nicely. So wave 4 to wave 5 pushing up higher. We haven't made a new high above the top here. It's possible that this wave 4, like I mentioned on the bonds, could be over here as well. We have some sort of ABC pattern over here. That's all doable as well. Let's just go into the daily chart here, pick it up from this wave 4 here for this. So what I was sort of suggesting is that the 5 waves that we're seeing here, that we'll need to lift up somewhat higher here. I mean, I've been counting it very conservatively as 1 and 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, but we're just not going to get up there. So what will end up happening is wave 1 will end up coming up here for this, and wave 2 will be here, and then we'll probably sort this out a little bit better as such in here, and push all this to the upside here a bit further. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can put that up here, and wave 4 here, and stretch it up a little bit, because there's going to be problems getting around the old high. So when we get up to 410, 420 here with this old high here, we're going to be pushed back down here. You know, the story of getting through old highs and working with price points or levels at this point. So, but yeah, anyway, the yields will still be, we could probably, I have to count, see if we got 5 waves in this little move here. I'm not sure if we have. We may have. If that is the case, then we can bring that top in here, and we can bring this back down to here at this point. But we haven't made a new high here. And the 30-year yields, if I can just go over here for a minute, there's still a good chance that they can come over here as well for this. So it's not quite out of the woods in this particular correction here. 30 years, the long end's been pushing up quite nicely, but we can still put wave B up here and wave C or 4 over here for this. because we've still got this down here as it does count reasonably well as an impulse wave. So simple, complex, simple over here for that. And that would give us more time at these tops as well, because that would leave us with wave 4 still coming down to here as wave C, and then we'd still have wave 5 to go to the upside up here around the 5%, and then we can have a much larger ABC pattern here for the B wave before we end up going further to the upside again after these 5 waves, and this can pull back further down here and all the rest of it. So but definitely we got 5 waves off the low, so you've got time to pay off your mortgages here or sort of shift out. But from what I can see with Elliott I know with markets there's nothing too high or nothing too low. I've learned that since the 80s. So yeah, nothing too high, nothing too low. Markets can do anything, and they're not always they're emotional because people are playing them like us that are emotional. It's just a reflection of that. Is there value in these things? Well, I don't know. How many? It's like stocks, isn't it? Are you happy at 20 times earning, or is that still too low? Do you know what I mean? It's sort of like, what's real, what's a dream. So anyway, this is definitely the pattern that we'll be playing. I say definitely is certainly looking at the 5-year yields, that'll be certainly playing out like that. Okay, so over to the dollar. We're still seeing the dollar strong. This is the bullish fund here, dollar index fund, and it's a little bit different from the dollar because the dollar actually had this as the low here. So in this case we can look at it as wave 1 here, an A and a B and a C wave over here for wave 2 over here. So this is kind of interesting because, as I mentioned before, because if we do get 5 waves up here, then that's going to make it nice and easy for gold to pull down, because basically gold's gone up for wave 1 and we've come down here, and we thought we may have the low in here, and we could sort of count 5 waves up here for this, but wasn't a very good count in silver or gold for 5 waves up here. Still possible, but probably not. And then we'll come down for wave 2 here and then move up. So an ABC pattern for gold, just so to speak. Yeah, so it would probably be something like this. If it's not like this here, and we need to look at the DXY as having this low in down over here for this. Let's go and have a look, 'cause it's a little bit different. So let's just go to the daily chart here for a moment just to get our bearings on this. But the dollar's still going to be pushing up for the time being here. And yeah, there's 2 things that can go on here. We can either have one straight line up here for this current move here, like this here, right? Or we're going to have some sort of ABC pattern here. As I mentioned before, I was sort of in the camp of the straight line to the upside with these. And I have to say, even though our 5 waves to the downside here is not, is sort of debatable at the moment as well, so in some of the other charts, which I won't go in at the moment, in the bigger picture, we have looked at them before, it's not like we're seeing increased volume to the downside here. We're seeing decreased volume coming into the market here. So it's the volume's telling me that this is actually corrective and that we'll probably go higher. That's what the volume is telling me. But we'll look at that over the next few sessions, and we'll revisit that. We did visit it once last week. We'll do it again. So anyway, for the short term here, if I can just go back into the smaller chart, the tick chart here. There's different ways to count this up here. Now, the futures market has made a new low here. The physical market has not made a new low, so you could count the DXY as 1 and 2, 3, 4, and 5 for the wave A here and wave B here. I was thinking that the wave B looked a bit small, could also come down here. We could count it differently as well. It doesn't count very nicely as a 5-wave structure from here to here either. It's I'm not happy with that. But what I can tell you is that, as I mentioned yesterday, is that we've got a little impulse wave here, so we'll be going higher. This particular structure here now that we've got here, that's also going higher as well. We've got 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and a third wave here, so this is going to play out as at least 4th and 5 and thing here. So this will probably just be the 1, 2 here, and 3, 4, and 5 here. So the 50-60% retracement level is much higher up at 5, 5, 8 up here. So we could go much higher up here. So what we need to do is we need to look about, you know, this idea of having a straight line here. We've got to try to get 5 waves within that structure, you know. And as I mentioned, the 50-60%, if we just roughly take it in here, is really up here at this point, you know, so it's still a long way away at this stage, you know. So we've got to find some way of looking at this into, you know, we may have to sort of extend it up higher, but we also need to look at gold as well. And I always thought that one of the biggest gold stocks in the world, Newcrest Mining here, played out quite well here, because we've got that nice impulse wave to the upside here, and then the A wave, the B wave, and then we can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. So 1 and 2, 2 might get a bit more complicated. We might get a push up here, but whatever, it doesn't really matter at this point. But 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 5. You know, so you can see that, you know, this will take a couple of months to finish this off here. So that's a little bit like what I'm looking at with US gold as well. So with US spot gold here, is that we can look at all of this as wave 1 up here. We were looking at this as wave 2, and could we get a wave 1 out of this? It's still possible, but I just don't think it's there, you know. I think that we need to pull down here, you know. I think we need to count 5 waves from B down to C here. Where will the low come in? I'm not quite sure yet. So it's possible to have a little wave 2 in here. You know, it's not out of reach. You know, we could put this over here, but I don't have any evidence of an upturn here just yet to have this as wave, you know, have this as some sort of, you know, ABC pattern in here for this. This counts quite nicely as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down here, which we can see, I think on the, I don't know where we were on this one. Let me check. So it was on this one here, we're counting it. So with wave 1 up here and wave 1 doesn't count very well here. You could do a better job than that, 1 and 2. But the spike here, you know, I'd be more happy to put this situation here. But anyway, there's still, so it is an issue, right? Not resolved. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here for the A wave, the A, the B, and the C wave up here. So just to me, and there's a bit of an issue in here how you want to count this as well in this space. So could you, I mean, it does count nicely as an ABC correction for the B wave. Can we possibly look at it as 1 and pulling back for 2 here? Well, a wave 2 should be just a zigzag structure, basically, you know, 5, 3, 5 structure, and you know, 98% of the time they're really quite sort of simple. But you can see the size of this now as a wave 2. This is becoming the same size as this over here now, you know. So it's probably not the case, and we'll need to look further down, as mentioned yesterday. So obviously there's going to be some good support coming into these lows here, and it's going to get sort of messy. But we'll, you know, this is the wave 2 down here that it can come to down here. So it would need to let go. You have to get through this resistance here, support here, and then drop here. So it could certainly extend it down here further. But from the top here is 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 here. And then we could go 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 again here. So I just wanted to see how this plays out here before we get into, I mean, I could put this here as wave 3 and 4 here too. I could do that and jam a little 5th wave up into here and play this over here and do this, but I won't do that just yet. I just want to see how it plays out, because I just feel that we need to be going down a lot further. And yeah, so I just feel like we need to sort of stretch it down here somehow, you know, something here. And it's quite common for the wave 3 to be at the previous lows here. So that would all play out quite nicely at 19 here in that case, and would bring this to here. So I want to see if I need to stretch this 3rd wave down here a little bit further. So I won't jump into bed just yet on that one, so we'll just leave it. The point being, you can't go long here. You know, there could be a little bit of support come in and bouncing and so on, but we're not seeing a nice clean impulse wave to the upside, as we've been sort of mentioning. And this will also be the same for silver as well. So with just keeping it a bit simple here, with wave 1 up here, an A wave here, a B wave here, and I could sort of jam it up a little bit tighter with wave 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. We'll talk about this yesterday. I haven't really cleaned this up here just yet. I guess we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, so we could put that wave 3 in here. We'll need this wave 4. This wave 4 can play out over here. We'll still need wave 5 down here. We'll still need 3, 4, but we'll still need here. But I think that we may even need to bring it down further, just depending on how this particular structure plays out. But yeah, I mean, if we'd found support above the 30 here, then fine. But, you know, I mean, as I mentioned in the last couple of videos, we have to look further down for these markets. And this is, that's GDX, sorry. Silver's the same here in that. And I don't even like this either. You know, if we still keep wave 1 up here, an A wave, you know, we had it as an A and a B and a C, that looked okay. But I'm not getting 5 waves up here. Just not happening, you know. I don't mind pushing the envelope a little bit, but, you know, to get 5 waves out of here is a stretch, you know. So it puts us into a situation where silver, you know, as a wave 1 up here and a wave 2 coming back here, it doesn't really even give us that, you know, because we're getting an ABC pattern in here. You know, unless I use this as a top and, you know, ignore that little top that came in here on this, or do something like that on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the A wave, the B wave, and the C wave down here. But, I mean, the size of this here too is getting rather big for this particular move here. It's almost like we'll need to move this wave too over here. So, but anyway, there's no long trade here, as I've been pointing out for the last few sessions. So we'll just continue to build this case here. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 now. At least I can put that in here. There may be maybe a little tiny new low in here. There could be a bit of a rally here, but still, we'll still be needing to come down further on all of this. How far will that pull back? It can pull back 38.2% from that top to that low, but yeah, still. Could we look at that as the low here? I just don't have 5 waves over here. That's my thing, you know. Unless you want to call that some sort of truncated 5th wave, you could get away with it then and look at this as an A and a B and a C. But anyway, let's just, if I'm totally wrong and we see a nice impulse wave that moves up here, well, then we'll look for the setup around that impulse wave and we'll trade it. But otherwise, it's just not there. So gold and silver to the downside with the stronger dollar to the upside. So we come over to the base metals, and that stronger dollar is also pushing the metals down. We've been looking at iron ore. This is the Dalian exchange in China. We've also been looking at the Singapore exchange. The Singapore exchange has got this wave B here down lower here, so it does make a nice A, B, and C on the Singapore exchange, and that's in US dollars. This is traded in yuan here. So, but we know that the China's economy is, well, you know, I don't know. There's not many ships going in and out, put it that way. So, but the thing is, if they were going to boost their economy, iron ore would be a you know, an infrastructure material, and but they can also get that from Brazil, and as I've mentioned before, they've got one of the biggest plots in South Africa now. So they don't really need to, you know, that will come online next year, I think it is, or maybe a year and a half or something, and they won't need to buy from Brazil or Australia as such. You know, they'll get their own, you know, high grade, you know, I mean, that's what they need. So their problem is being sort of solved. So yeah, this can move, you know, much lower for all of this. So this is, from this, we could view this move up here as wave 1 here and coming back for wave 2 here. So it's not all over yet, but what I wanted to see here, I wanted to figure out if we're going to get a nice 5-wave move down here. That's what I'm sort of thinking about and looking at, looking for at the moment. So this is the 61.8%. So I'm just going to we'll give it another week or two, and we'll just keep investigating this. But even on the Singapore market, we're looking at this as a corrective move to the upside more so. So as I've been mentioning, holding FMG and Rio and Vale and those iron ore stocks, and also the copper stocks as well. Where's copper? I'll just go to nickel here. With nickel here, we could look at nickel as a because I had this counted up here as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up here for 1 and 2. Now this move up here, we could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up here, but I've only got 3 waves here. So yeah, but we should see some sort of bounce here as well. But I don't think it's going to be long-lived for nickel at this point in time. We'll keep a bit of an eye on it, but copper is a bigger deal. So basically, if this move down here at any stage takes out the low here, what it does do is it confirms this being an ABC at that point, and then we would come much lower at this point. We know from the LME this particular move here is corrective on this is the high grade copper here, but on the COMEX futures market, we could count this up as being impulsive, So we'll just see how this goes. It's not all over. We could look at this as wave 1 and wave 2 here at this point. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. That's possible. I'm not going to rule that out. Some of the markets suggest that we can come, higher up here first and then drop. There is that. I mean, I've looked at this. It's pretty much, when you look at it at the, the LME, which does more volume, it's pretty much a corrective pattern at this point. So with corrective patterns, they can get complicated. It could be it finished here and we could move lower from this point, or we could have a bigger A, B and C wave up here for this and then move down. But it's not in a strong position at the moment. So if this low is breached here and you're holding BHP and the like, then I'd definitely be out of it at that point. So then we come over to the energy sector, and this is a monthly chart for crude. And I just thought I'd have a look at the bigger picture for this. It is possible there's different ways to count all of this. And, this is just another count that I sort of came up with to kind of fit the fundamental sort of story that's happening at the moment between the US, the Saudis and the Russians, and where they want to keep the price. I mean, obviously nobody mentions where they want to keep the price, and it's really all up to, it's not even, if you read the news a little bit, it's not even up to OPEC so much these days. It's really just the Saudis that are making the call, and they're cutting supply, as you know, so we'll see the price push up. But the demand to buy it, I mean, is not really from the US at the moment, so and there's not that much demand from China as well at this stage. So I mean, in the US, most of the fuel is into transport, but that's not the case in China. So there's a lot of sort of hidden things in all of this, but this was the day that the hedge funds got involved in the markets, in the commodities over here. So, but anyway, this particular, which I'll put it this way, whichever way that you want to count this high to this low here, you can count it differently. You can count it a little bit like copper in a triangle pattern here, but if it didn't make a new top above this one here, you can count this move up here in 5 waves. I think it actually counts better up as a 3-wave move, but that's okay too. but I've got it as an ABC here. I've had it can be counted as 5 waves up. So I think that we're just going to be in a longer term, what I was going to say here, whichever way you want to count this move from this high to this low here, it doesn't matter how you want to count it, you will still end up as a corrective pattern. And it's simply a corrective pattern because it's taken out the wave B top here. So it makes this a corrective pattern. So sometime in the future, we should technically take out that top here. Now, we could look at this here as 5. If we looked at this as 5 waves up here, then it does leave the possibility of wave 1 here and coming back for wave 2 here, and then 3, 4, 5 up here. Is the demand there for that at the moment? I don't think so. Not what I can see. So I've put it as a more complex sideways correction here. So it's basically an A, B, and C down here for the A wave, and so complex, simple, complex, simple, complex. So basically an A wave here, a B wave up here, and then a C, D, and E here. So it's basically like a much larger triangle coming across this way here. And these here could get larger coming across here. But I know that they want to trap the price, from $65 to the 61.8% at $100. So that will be, the US are restocking at these low levels, and so on. So there are, there are different ways to look at this particular low point down here for this. We'll talk about that in a moment. But from this particular top up here to this particular low down through here, the 61.8% is around the $100. This is a CFD product here, so is around the $100 mark. So anywhere sort of up into that space, we can look for tops up into that space. Okay. Okay, so let's go and have a look at the intraday. So I'm just going to get a bit more data in here for this. So one of the things is that we have made a new low below this low here. But I think it's kind of interesting on the United States oil fund here. This is another way to view the situation. This is counting it down a little bit differently. We can have a look at how I count down the crude oil as well. But in this case here, the main takeaway here is that we didn't get a spike down below this move here. And I think that's interesting. I think it's interesting and a little bit important as well, because it kind of stabilizes the pattern a little bit. So it would leave this as the low here. And then we could look at this as an A wave up here, and then a B wave over here, because we haven't really made a new low here. And we've been looking at this being wave 1 here and 2 here, and we've been looking at this here also as an A wave here and a B wave here on the other market. But we could view it as wave 1 with a sort of a corrective pattern for wave 2 here. And that would play out a little bit further up here for this. So we're coming into, even though this is the fund here, this would also be, pretty high up here will be, that's the 61.8% up here as well. So it's possible for this to move up here in, because I'm just trying to figure out the best count for this, and here I've got this counted a little bit differently here, that takes us a little bit higher up here, so it would end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up here for this little move here, then this and then this and then this and then this, to finish off here. So that would finish that trend off to that, that point here. So we'll look at this a bit more closely and how we've sort of how I've counted this here. But yeah, as an A and a B and a C wave up here, to make a larger B wave up here and then back down again, that type of thing. So yeah, so that's just considering this not being the low here, having this as the low rather than this spiky low here. So when we come back over here, and really it was just a spike, and I always sort of like, I'm always dubious about spikes in the market, you know, and how they should be included, and so on, you know. I mean, really, yeah, if this spike wasn't here on that one particular day, then it really gives these guys a bit of a low over here, doesn't it? You know, we could look at this as some sort of A, B over here, and some finishing off over to this point here. So there's a lot that could be viewed at this point, you know, with this. So just coming back to this, I'm just coming into a weekly chart here, just to, my old count was having this, well, having this as an ABC up here. It can be counted as wave one, but I just can't see where the volume would come through on that, you know, the demand for that would come through, because, you know, America are really supplying their own crude. They're only getting about 5% from the Saudis, you know. And the Chinese are not doing much at the moment, and I know that they're you know, the Saudis are cutting the supply, and they'll probably cut it further. But basically, the A wave, the B wave here, and the C wave down here, incorporating this low here and having all of this as the third wave within this structure here, probably have to lift it up a degree of structure, but yeah, just looking at it like that. But we're just going to go in and look at this particular area here. We know that the 61.8% is higher up here towards this. Let's just go back to where we were here for a moment. And so, yeah, a little bit busy in here. So we could view this as 1 and 2, or an A and a B here. We're still on that sort of story. So it's just something you have to take one step at a time. But the trend is still trending higher. But we've got wave 1 and 2 here. And then we've gone all the way up for the third wave here. And the fourth wave. So, so in this particular instance, I could put wave 3 here and change this count in here a little bit. But what I do want to talk about is that we've got this impulse wave here, we've got a corrective wave here, so we're going to be taking out the top here. So we'll probably end up with, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so it's just going to end up in this particular space here. So if I use that as wave 3 there, this could also be a bit of a serious top in here for this. So as I mentioned yesterday with this, is that what we can do, and we can also look for a long trade setup, is if, using the trading levels here for a moment, we've got 8 here, we've got 1, 2, and 3 to make up 83 here. So if we end up seeing a classic trading levels pattern at the 83, the top of group 1, that's going to be our long trade setup here, and we'll go from here to 5 at that point. Okay, so we don't have that yet. In here, we will push higher. There will be some time spent at number 3. Number 3 is, in terms of the fourth strongest number, 1, 5, 8, and then 3. So we will see it. Well, we're already seeing it play out here. It's got meaning here already. You know, I mean, it's going to have more meaning over here and so on. So we'll see if we get a long trade set up for that. Our main sort of trade really has been in natural gas. So we're looking at it in a couple of ways. I won't go into the bigger picture with all of this, but it is bullish. We've got this wave 1 here. It's possible to put wave 2 here with wave 1 here and wave 2 over here. It's a bit of a tight fit for this, but we're looking at that, and that's possible. The other alternative is to we could put wave 2 over here, but then it'll just be a little bit too big. So I'll be better off putting a B wave over here for this. It doesn't really matter. For the time being, we're still going to go higher. So whichever way you want to look at it, it doesn't really matter at this point. When we see more of the trend, it will resolve itself. So now I did have this as green wave 1 here, and I mentioned to you that we need to put green wave 1 further up here. So I've just adjusted them a little bit. So yesterday we're looking sort of in here at wave 4 or something. So now we've got 1, 2. So we're going to be coming up here for wave 5 of 3, and then we're going to have wave 4 that can pull back to the wave 4 of 1 lesser degree in here, and then go up for wave 5. We don't need to do anything at the moment. If you wanted to take some money off the table, you could take it all off the table up the top here, or you could take a percentage at that particular point there as well. I'll leave that up to you, and we'll talk about it more. We'll just see how things play out, because let's just say that from the low here, let's just say that the market goes up to what have we got, gas, $3 here. So let's just say that it goes up there. Well, the 61.8% is back here. That's the 50% here, the 61.8%. So it's about right there. So first of all, we'll see how high it goes, and if it does reach that that mark up here, if it does that, we could take some off just before we get there, a decent chunk, maybe 50%, 60%, and then we could try to get it back in over here without being too perfect about it. But yeah, having this 5 waves here, that should give us, the next build to the upside over here for this. So let's just, and we'll be looking to add over here as well. We'll be adding pretty much back here. I'd always like to get some positions in before the next sort of level over here for this. But this is kind of interesting in a way. Let's just assume for a moment that that we're on the right track here. I'm just having a look for my natural gas chart. Yeah, this is it here. This is the US natural gas fund thing here. So this is kind of a little bit more interesting really, because if I count this as 3, 4, and this is the low in the market down here by the by, then we've had this 5 wave move up here. I could put wave 2 over here as well for this, obviously, because it's kind of a bit close to that low there. But we've got 5 waves here. This move in here, whichever way you want to look at it, is corrective. And now we're getting 5 waves up here with natural gas as well. So this is just going to be, we'll keep a little bit of an eye on this. Anyway, we'll look at the 5 waves here coming around these highs to this high. So we'll have to be a bit careful here, I guess. Yeah, because I guess we could look at this. I'm just looking at being a devil's advocate here as well in this case. So we could look at this as an A and a B wave here and a C wave here for this. So we could come down once we've got those 5 waves here as an A and a B and a C wave here. So it's possible. So I'll keep an eye on that situation. So it does mean that if we make a new high above here, where would that leave us in this instance? We will take a little journey into the bigger picture here now that I've just given that particular thing some thought. The puzzle with all of this is that we've got an A and a B and a C wave down here. It really looks like, it's quite long to be a C wave. It's okay, but it's rather long. It's more like it's a wave 3 here. So being a wave 3, the 38.2% retracement level is way up here. But at the same time, it doesn't have to come up here. And then if we are in a wave 3 and wave 4 here, which is likely, then, we need to, really understand this particular pattern here. And the problem with it is that I can see that it can be counted in different ways. That's our issue here. So the question is, though, will the 5 waves that we get here, will that end the trend, and will come down at that point? On the natural gas fund, this counts as 5 waves here. By the way, on this market, it doesn't count very nicely as 5 waves here. And on the natural gas fund, this counts better with wave 2 over here. That's another issue at this point. The thing I like about this, though, is thinking of Richard Wyckoff here, from here to here, that's an accumulation process. So that distance across here is the distance we should see up here, whatever the case may be. So I think what we'll do is that when we get up here somewhere, we'll take a bigger chunk off than we normally would, and then we'll try to get that back in over here, and we'll just keep an eye on, make sure that the pattern that comes back here, that we get it right, you know, and then we'll add back in here. So we could be looking at taking anywhere from 60 to 80% off the top here. I think that would be okay. That would be the right thing to do at that point, and then that way we've got our assets covered. So we'll just grab that there and put in 80 to 60 to 80%. So that's what we'll do up here on that fifth wave. Well, when we get close to that fifth wave, that's what we're going to do, and then we're going to try to get back, put that back in over here. And if we can see that this particular move here is corrective, it'll take a little bit of doing, but going along above the B wave will be one of them. So basically, we're just getting out wherever this is and getting back in once we can prove to ourselves. It'll be a stronger move to do that. So that's what we're going to do. And we'll try to get a better price. We'll try to improve on that, of course. And we can do that in lots of different ways, depending. I mean, it's difficult to tell sometimes if this is going to be a bearish move or corrective move, because they should be the same. It should be a 5-3-5 structure. So it could be wave 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 to this point. So normally it comes in that, do we get 5 waves up here? And if we can get 5 waves in the first leg here, then we can buy the pullback in here for that, or we'll have to just, if we can't prove that 5 waves, we'll have to go along above the B wave here, the same fractal pattern as this here, and then build in back over here again. So yeah, a bit of work to do here, but I think it will be worth it. So we'll just tread lightly. We don't have a lot of trade. We don't have any other trades going on at the moment in the commodity. So that's what we'll do at that point. All right. Sorry to waffle on so long. But you got to do your job. Alrighty, enjoy. Cheers.